it is a welcome sight for us all after the torrential conditions. However, we get underway with our sighting and formation lap for DD2 final number 2. Let's have a look at the starting grid. Villelainen starts from pole position ahead of Matthias Lund. Martin van Leuven rounds out the top 3 ahead of Jakob Bezel, with Laurens Seyfried and Xander Schriblak rounding out the top 6 positions on the grid. Rounding out the top 10, it's Fabian Bock, Peder Bezel, Mika Metz and Rasmus Vendelbo. Row 6, it's Ragnar Virus and Florian Breitenbach, Max Fleischmann and Mark Bartels, all German. Row 7, Hannes Bode and Paulo Besancene. Row 8, row 9, it's Robert Chopin and Leon Arndt. Row 10, and completing the top 20, it's Mikkel Tigerson and Johan Veen. Sebastian Janchevski, Maxime Derich and Leo Kirschenbauer round out the 23 strong. Coming into this particular race, Peder Bezel's lead is 95 points versus 65 ahead of Matthias Lund, so 29 points. Villelainen now moves up to 3rd in the championship standings, ahead of Martin van Leuven, who pips Xander Schriblak to 4th place by just a single point. Jakob Bezel brings himself into the championship dynamic by going into 6th position. So another championship lead could be truncated depending on what we see over the next 14 minutes plus an additional lap. The top 10 set in stone: Villelainen, Lund, Van Leuven, Bezel, Jakob Bezel, Laurens Seyfried, Xander Schriblak, Fabian Bock, Peder Bezel, Mika Metz and Denmark's Rasmus Vendelbo. That is your top 10 positions. So they split, they head into the tram lines for one final time. Revs start to rise. Are we ready? Lights out, let's race. And it's a good start by Villelainen. Lund goes on the defensive, but Jakob Bezel looking to go up the inside of the Dane through the first couple of corners, but doesn't get through. Schriblak already passed Seyfried, heading up towards turn 4 as Seyfried goes defensive on Peder Bezel. And someone's gone a little bit wide, looks to be Mika Metz possibly, who was starting in 10th position. Now Matthias Lund wants to start breaking away from those behind, especially the biggest one that he's got an idea of where he might be on the circuit is Peder Bezel. And Peder Bezel already passed Fabian Bock up into 7th position. And not even 60 seconds into this race. So top 5 rounded out by Xander Schriblak, covered by just over 3/4 of a second, but then Schriblak gets past Van Leuven. Oh, we've had an incident. Fabian Bock and the 4:26, that is Max Fleischmann. So Fabian Bock getting out of the car. Fleischmann gets back underway. Double waved yellows at turn 2, which is slow down, no overtaking, and prepare to stop if required. So a real shame that has ended Fabian Bock's race. He got himself up into P7. Whatever happened there, I didn't really catch the incident itself. It's a real shame for the youngster. 12 minutes and 17 seconds on the clock. Top 3 covered by just less than 3/10 of a second. Jakob Bezel now trying to close in on those in front. And Matthias Lund looking to try and see if he can get past Villelainen, but the Finn is on the defensive. Now, looking at it from this perspective, you can battle with your teammate, but the biggest rule in motorsport is never collect your teammate at all. Or never hit your teammate is the more direct version of saying it. And you can see how much respect that Villainen and Lund have between each other. But obviously when you have teammates battling, there will be no team orders because they are both battling for a spot in the grand finals. Van Leuven trying to close in once again on Shriblack. They're on the same type of chassis, and there's a bit of a melange of colour there. Fabian Bock out. Max Fleischmann, unfortunately, also out, and Fleischmann started 13th. So he's going to have an early spruce up before dinner tonight. And that's for the pair of them. Matthias Lund staying behind Ville Villainen. Petter Bezel is getting quicker and quicker as the session goes on. He's put in the fastest lap of the race of 50.687 for the 4:02. Top 5 covered by 1 second. Petter Bezel is again winding up the wick on that Rotax engine he's got on his right-hand side. 50.448 for the Czech Republic driver. And looks like there's been dramas for Rasmus Vendelbo and Mikkel Tigerson from Denmark. That spells a possible disaster for the pair of them. They've dropped to the back of the field. Villainen continues to lead the way. Matthias Lund still keeping on the Finn's back bumper. Jakob Bezel trying to close in on them. Xander Shriblack 4th, Martin Van Leuven and Petter Bezel. They round out the top 6, covered by just over 1.6 seconds, as we have just under 4.5 minutes of this race completed so far. So as the way things stand, Matthias Lund will be on 85 points if things finish as they are. Looking at where Petter Bezel is at the moment, 6th place, will give him an additional... Oh, you know, I said this might be close. It's getting closer by the second. 6th place will give him 104 points. That is effectively 19... That would be... that'd be 19 ahead of Matthias Lund going into the final race weekend of the season. Obviously, that depends on how quickly Petter Bezel gets close to, which is what he's doing right now. And Xander Shriblack realises that, and Shriblack says, oh, hang on a minute, I've got to get out of here. He's Piggy in the middle, is Xander. And there goes Bezel up the inside. That's another point. So that brings the gap up to 20 points in terms of virtual championship standing. So what Matthias Lund needs to do is start winding up the wick and start closing in on Ville Villainen once again to try and get past. And then drop the gap down to 15 points. We'll look at Lund now. He's right on the back bumper of the Finn. Jakob Bezel gets a bit curb hungry there, going through the exit of the chicane. To claw time back in his favour, because one of the things that he can do as Petter's brother is to actually cause a bit of drama in the championship, and that is to take points off of those in front, and he's well within his rights to do so, because now with 11 points going to Petter Bezel, that puts him on 105. At the moment, Matthias Lund on 85. Xander Shriblack currently in P6. That will give him 10 points. Villiainen, that will give him... You know what? That'll actually change things quite significantly, because that will put Villiainen 3 points ahead of Matthias Lund going into the final round, and 17 points behind Peter Bessel. Martin van Leuven rounding out the top 4 in this race to get a further 13 points, putting him on 64. Jakob Bessel, if he stays in the position he is now, he'll tie. So effectively, that will mean Bessel will be first, Villiainen second, Lund will be third. There'll be equal fourth between Van Leuven and Bessel going into the final round. Schiblak will be down in effectively 6th place. As here is Hannes Border closing in on Mika Metz. We've had multiple retirements in the meantime, and these are big ones. De Sansonnet, his title charge has ended, 19th and out of the race on lap 4. Rasmus van der Boer and Mikkel Tigerson out of the race on lap number 3. Fabian Bock and Max Fleischmann retiring shortly after the very first lap had been completed, and it was through turn 2 that the pair found themselves spinning around, so to speak. And Bock would take no further part. He would not move any further forward. And now Peter Bessel has got past Van Leuven and Schiblak. Now that has changed things a bit more into his favour. That will put him on 107 points. So things could ramp up, and especially if we find that Jakob Bessel takes points off of Matthias Lund. That could be crucial to what happens here today and how it affects the championship standings. So 4.5 minutes to go. So what Matthias Lund needs to do now is he either needs a miracle, or he doesn't need Jakob Bessel passing him, or he needs to get past Villiainen. But that's easier said than done. We're on lap number 12 of this race. Villiainen has kept control of proceedings. He has not looked back. Bet you his eyeballs are on stalks right about now. Across the line they go once again. This time Matthias Lund was 0.133 behind. Now he knows that if he wants to get past Villiainen, he's got to do it in the next couple of laps. Villiainen's driving his own race. And effectively, if he finishes where he is... Oh, little bit of an assist from behind. That gave a little bit of a startle to the Finn. But he managed to keep it all together. Cool as a cucumber is Villiainen. Doesn't speak the best English in the world, but always got a smile on his face. And whenever he's seen me in the paddock, he'll always wave at me and say, "Hey, you okay?" And I'll go like, "Yeah, fine, good, you?" And he goes, "Yeah, good." And that's it, conversation done and dusted. So 14, onto lap 14 we go. Villiainen has been leading for pretty much the majority of the race. Laurent Seifried and Florian Breidenbach have made their way up into 9th and 10th respectively, and have secured themselves some welcome points. So Peter Bessel might have to watch his back bumper, because Martin van Leuven is closing. I've also seen that Sebastian Jankowski started 21st on the grid. The pole now up into P7. So a good resurgence after what has been a difficult finals day. It never has been lady luck that has shined on Sebastian Jankowski earlier on this season, but now he's got a very good chance of that happening here today. 1 minute and 40 to go, plus an additional lap. Villiainen not giving an opportunity for Matthias Lund. Jakob Bezel still leading the way and keeping ahead of everybody. And there is Lawrence Seyfried up the inside of Mika Metz. And that's for 8th position, but Mika Metz retakes the place. Time is fast ticking away, and as the way things stand at the moment, Ville Villiainen will bring himself into second in the championship fight because Jakob Bezel has dropped off a little bit. As we go on to the 17th and penultimate lap of this race, the penultimate lap of the weekend here for DD2. 2 more races to go. Seyfried at it again with Mika Metz looking to get the cut back through turn 4, then into the chicane. He's got Florian Breitenbach right off his back bumper as the 439. And on this particular occasion, it's going to be no score on that one, I'm afraid. Timer has hit 0. So next time around, Ville Villiainen and Matthias Lund now take the final lap board. This is a bit of a skirmish here. Mika Metz versus Lawrence Seyfried, with Florian Breitenbach and Hannes Border just behind. They round out the top 11. And with them, there's Robert Chopin. There comes Hannes Border side by side with Florian Breitenbach. So Seyfried has opened the floodgates. Mark Bartels is getting his all stuck in, and there, right through, goes Robert Chopin. Mark Bartels goes off the circuit having had a slight touch with Hannes Border there. So Hannes Border, but it's going to be 2 for 2. The Finn flies to the top step of the podium. Villiainen brings himself into the championship fight. Second, Matthias Lund stays alive going into the final round at Wackersdorf in just 50 days. Third place, it's Jakob Bezel, who helps himself very nicely to a good haul of points and ties, I think, with what will be Martin van Leuven from the Netherlands. Sander Schublack will leave here in about sixth place in the championship standings provisionally, but Villiainen wins it. Let's have a look at the results. Matthias Lund in second, Jakob and Peter Bezel rounds out the top 4. Martin van Leuven 5th ahead of Sander Schublack. Sebastian Janchevsky, one of the drives of the weekend, 21st to 7th. Lawrence Seyfried not placing outside of the top 8 in both finals this weekend, finishes 8th ahead of Florian Breitenbach, with Mika Metz and Robert Chopin rounding out the top 11, a quartet of German drivers there. Ragnar Veres in 12th ahead of Maxime Derige, Hannes Border, Johan Veen, Leon Arndt, Mark Bartels, Leo Kirschenbauer. There's Fabian Bock about to get back behind the, get back into the seat of his cart when it gets recovered, with Paulo Bassoncenet, Rasmus Vendelbo, Mikkel Tigerson, Fabian Bock and Max Fleischmann, unfortunately retiring from